This is the first time the board has recognized both World Marrow Donor Day and Sickle Cell Anemia Month. And we have a team of folks that are going to also talk about it, but I'll say a few words to kick it off. I learned a lot about the importance and need for donors, for stem cell donors, through the personal experience of my son. And about 5 months ago, my son and I were jogging on a track in Richmond. Well, he was actually running, and I was jogging. Was a healthy 33-year-old man. And I noticed a lot of bruising on his legs and thighs that he normally didn't have. And so the next day, there was some other things that came up, and so we went to Kaiser and hospital, and they did a battery of tests and said, gee, your platelets are very low, your red blood cells are very low, and your white blood cells are really low. And so he was admitted, and after a bone marrow biopsy, was diagnosed with a very rare autoimmune disease called aplastic anemia, which happens to be the same disease that Eleanor Roosevelt died of complications of back in the early 60s, there was no cure for it at that time. And fast forward 4 months after that, my son did receive a bone marrow stem cell transplant, courtesy of NMDP, which we'll hear about at Stanford Hospital, and he is recovering in housing near Stanford and doing well. But what I learned in all of this was how vital and important it is to have more donors for stem cell transplant, both bone marrow and blood donors, and especially among people of color, because there's not as many of them in this registry of about 43 million people worldwide. Ironically, my son got a letter from NMDP when they were searching for donors saying, gee, you're a match for a 33-year-old man, not realizing he was the actual patient because when he went to Cal Berkeley, he had signed up and done the testing to donate. So he was a match for himself, but they couldn't use his, right? And so, what's important to recognize is that the shortage of donors costs lives, and that about 70% of African Americans, 50% of Latinos, 50% of Asians, 70% of multiracial individuals do not have a perfectly matched donor in the worldwide registry. And hence the need to really, for everyone, right, do more outreach. And I had raised this issue to the health department, and I know a lot of the donors events occur at colleges, and we'll hear about that. So I thought it was really important to continue to raise the visibility. I saw how this saved my son's life. Many people don't have that opportunity. He was able, from the day he was basically admitted when he had his condition to the day of his transplant, 4 months, which I understand is pretty fast, right? And his donor is a young woman in Germany. We don't know who she is, but the stem cells were transported, right, by plane and within 2 or 3 days. So it is truly a worldwide donor base. And I think we need to continue to do our part here in the Bay Area, especially among communities of color, of getting more donors. So I think that's really about raising the visibility of this issue. Most people, right, who need these stem cell transplants are people who have blood cancer, leukemia, multiple myeloma, people have sickle cell anemia, or have autoimmune disease like my son, but most are blood cancer needs. And people die because they don't get a match. And so I wanted to also, before I turn it over, thank NMDP, which stands for National Marrow Donor Program, for your amazing work, being part of this, working with Kaiser and Stanford, and identifying and doing all the work that it takes to identify the donor work with them wherever they are around the world to get them, right, to get the donation, get it transported here, helping with even financial assistance. I mean, my son has to stay in housing for 2 months near the hospital because of needing to be close to the doctors. So there's so much that NMDP does, and I just wanted to raise up. I appreciate your effort here, Lauren. I know you live in the East Bay, and you work with hospitals and work with so many organizations, individuals. I just wanted to personally thank you for helping my son be able to get his stem cell through NMDP, so thank you very much. And so I will turn it over to Rhonda Rochon Smith, who's the assistant to our Health Services Director, who I know has been working on outreach and events. Thank you very much. I think, like in all cases, we learn from our personal or family experiences and try to then make that awareness about causes and issues higher to help many people. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to you.